When I first saw the announcement that Larian Studios were given the license to make Baldur's Gate 3, I was on cloud 9. I was terrified BioWare, after their bastardization of the last two Dragon Age games, would somehow eventually be given the reins to destroy the Baldur's Gate franchise as well. I played, and loved, Divinity Original Sin and Divinity Original Sin 2, the latter more than the former. If anyone could do the third installment in the Baldur's Gate franchise justice, it's Larian. Period. Part of the reason I am so excited to see the final product and their take on Baldur's Gate 3 is their inclusion of a Game Master mode and the Divinity Engine 2 toolset in Divinity Original Sin 2. I have spent hundreds, if not thousands, of hours over the past 3 years playing around in both. It is surprisingly easy to go in and paint your own dream landscape, town, or dungeon in as much creative detail as your imagination cares to come up with in the Divinity Engine, and then port the scenario into the Game Master mode and live out your wildest role-playing fantasies with your friends or even just by yourself. I understand that Baldur's Gate 3's main campaign is magnitudes larger than that offered up in Divinity Original Sin 2, but regardless, it would be an absolute travesty if Larian doesn't end up including both the latest iteration of the Divinity Engine and a new Dungeon Master mode in this game. After all, Baldur's Gate 3 is based on 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, and a DM mode is one of the most vital components of D&D. So let's go ahead and assume that eventually they will implement a Dungeon Master mode. Here is a list of features I would like to see implemented in it that were not in the vanilla Game Master mode for Divinity Original Sin 2. Number 1, the ability to select and order multiple units. In Game Master mode, as it stands today, you can only possess one unit at a time. In other words, if you want the village your players are visiting to be swarmed by a bunch of orcs and goblins flanking in from either side, you have to just spawn them in the village, which is somewhat immersion breaking to see creatures appearing out of thin air. Larian did a great job with the possession mechanics in Divinity Original Sin's 2 take on this mode, and they should still have the same functionality for direct position of any given unit. That said, I feel it would be useful to be able to drag select any number of NPCs or creatures like you would in an RTS and order them around the map. Maybe even add control groups using shortcuts like Control 1 and Control 2, so at the press of a button, 1 or 2, you could easily reselect the units you had assigned to any given control group. This would allow you to not only pull off the aforementioned invasion of orcs and goblins on a homestead, but then you could quickly select all the villagers and have them flee out the south end to safety. Number 2, the ability to add or remove any NPC or creature as a party member or follower. Game Master mode works great when you are playing with 3 or 4 human players. However, it can be challenging to design compelling and epic encounters when you are only playing Dungeon Master to 1 or 2 people. This is because with only 2 players to fight your evil hordes, you have to scale back on the quantity and level of the beasts you can spawn to keep things balanced and fun for your players. If we could select any given NPC or creature that we have created and, with the press of a few buttons, assign them as a follower to one of the players, the possibilities would be endless. We could have the main party members leading a small army of militia in an invasion against a well-guarded enemy fortress. We could have battles that would feel like epic large-scale scenarios rather than small skirmishes. It seems with Baldur's Gate 3's new follower mechanic, where you can hire mercenaries or gain followers like Glut in the Underdark, they already have the system in place to make something like this work. Number 3, only possessing one unit in combat at a time. One of my favorite things to do in Game Master mode is to take direct control of the enemies in combat against the heroes. However, sometimes, to be quite honest, more often than that, the AI is smarter and more strategic than I am. Seriously, hats off to Larian, as they did a phenomenal job at the AI in Divinity Original Sin 2. Ever since the first time I hopped into Game Master mode, I've wanted the ability to select just one creature at a time so I could roleplay that creature or NPC, but not have to stress too much about what every single enemy in the encounter was going to do next, to keep things challenging and engaging for the heroes. The easiest way to implement something like this, or at least achieve the desired outcome, would be to leave it so you can possess every creature in combat by default, the way it is now, but that there is also an auto-resolve turn button for the Dungeon Master that allows the AI to decide what that particular creature or NPC does with the rest of that one turn. Number 4, automatic music transitions. The amount of control the Atmosphere tab, the Game Master mode, provides us Dungeon Masters with is breathtaking. We can change the lighting, the music, the weather, all with ease. However, it would be nice if we could preset what we wanted to be the typical exploration music and the currently selected combat music, and the game would alternate between the two automatically as we entered combat or ended it. In other words, instead of the current configuration, maybe have two drop-down boxes, one saying exploration music and another saying combat music, and you can choose whatever songs you want, whenever you want, but the AI automatically transitions between the two when it determines it is appropriate. So, these are just my personal requests. I would be curious to see what other features you all would want in Baldur's Gate 3's potential Dungeon Master mode, or if you agree or disagree with anything I said. Please let me know in the comments section below.